Hello everybody, welcome to Discussing Tabletop. It is episode 76 now. We're chugging along through them. It's actually 19th, 20th that we're bringing the tabletop news of the week. Of course, joining me today is my one of my usual co-hosts, Wyrm here. Hopefully Joe will be able to join us, but he has some delays that our own delays couldn't push any farther. So so we had a little bit here, so we're starting later than normal. Hopefully we'll still have a great show, and if we get Joe, we'll have like a little intermission, pop him in. But regardless if I have a list of things on our dock today. I want to talk about the edition of Vampire Empire that is being published with Modiphius, which I don't know what that means for Path in the relation to this entire thing. So it's kind of weird there. I want to talk about the D&D Arcana, which introduced you playing as a Minotaur or Sartar. I want to talk about Munchkin, because it's an expansion. It's the kind of expansion I want to see in Munchkin, and I'm kind of sad. The only thing I'm seeing that I want to see out of. So it's like, can we get more of that Stevejackson games?
Is there something
no!
that we want to see out of?
I know. You look at this product and like the Munchkin product, but we'll get into that. Starfinder flip maps. They have what they call the Sunrise Maiden. It's supposed to be a specific ship. Yes, I can use it for more. Yes, it's supposed to be used with a specific one. Are they going in a direction that's too specific then, to a degree? I don't know. We'll discuss that a little bit. And then Empire has 3 new books from Modiphius that we can discuss about a little bit before we move on to our regular Kickstarter corner, our weekly tabletop, and consult the table. There was a couple other topics I wanted to bring in, but since we don't have Joe at the moment, we might add them in if time and if he shows up. We'll find out. We'll let you know what they are when they happen. But for now, dive into Vampire 5 Eve Modiphius, because I mean, there anything against Modiphius being the ones put in charge of this one. Not at all. You know, I don't. It's again that I don't know what's going on with this entire.
Yeah,
connection.
this is kind of weird to me. The thing that's weird about it is World of Darkness was given to Onyx Path. I'm sure they actually acted out. But then maybe they were just because they're developing it before. White Wolf is Modiphius is the it and White Wolf is the or is it vice versa?
Not exactly what's going on with the missions here, because we only have Modiphius has a up on its site, and they have you can.
Modiphius is selling, but it's Modiphius and White Wolf's label on it.
Yeah, so you can click onto Wolf, and I don't know how they're connected with then. Over Onyx Path at all at this point in time. Onyx Path is still doing stuff.
So I mean, again, Onyx Path was given this in. So I don't know. See, now the question I also have is, wait, fourth, second and like where's fourth, third, and second edition?
Okay, I get that I understand why it's 5th edition, but it's really stupid because they had original, revive, like a edition, then V20, and then this one. So it's is the 5th edition that's come out. Stupidly.
Wait, okay, so they're counting World of Darkness, New World.
No, they're not.
No?
This is all Vampire the Masquerade. There was Vampire the Masquerade, then there was a revised edition, and then they had almost like a second edition, right before they had Apocalypses and came out with New World of Darkness. 3 editions. Then V20 came out. Under the 20th anniversary, which was an updated rules, came out under Onyx Path, which is a 4th edition. It's the 5th one. This is the only one they've called that. I think what the problem is. It's like really dumb, I think.
Okay, looking at it, it seems. Okay, I know, might have an idea of what happened here. So why I clicked. There's a link to White Wolf's thing in the bottom of it, and it looks like, if I had to guess, that White Wolf seems to still have maybe access to the. I have no idea. I'm trying to figure this out.
Mm-hmm. No, I understand this. This is
so on White Wolf's page, they still have Werewolf the Apocalypse and Vampire the Masquerade.
Yes.
Now on Onyx Path, they have done the revised versions of both of those, like the anniversary editions or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I was under the impression that basically White Wolf was like, yeah, we don't want to do World of Darkness anymore. Or that they were like, oh, we only want to publish, we don't want to make games, which is probably why they got Modiphius involved.
Yeah, the thing is, Onyx Path seems more licensed? Question mark?
Well, Onyx Path is definitely the publishing company, but when it comes down to it, they make World of Darkness now. They don't just publish it; they make it.
Yeah, because the thing is, I and this comes deeply into some of the stuff I do on my YouTube side. I don't know all the V20 stuff, so I'll put out a video.
I don't either.
I'll put out a video, and it's been hitting a bunch more for my character lore videos, which I just started doing. I put out a video and people are like, oh, this is some stuff that was introduced in V20. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. I have older books and a couple of Wikipedias to get this information for the books I don't own. So I use a combination of these to do my research, Mm-hmm. And this is a source I don't have that A, it's not showing up on any of the Wikipedias, and B, I don't own the books because a lot of those new books I don't have. I got a crap ton of the older vampire books. It's just yeah. And I'm not sure, it's being distributed by Modiphius. Yeah. White Wolf's Tabletop Roleplaying are published by White Wolf Publishing. Through Vampire, including Vampire through its 20th anniversary editions. So they were being published by Onyx Path, and this is being distributed by Modiphius. So I'm not... There's something weird going on with all the connections to it, and I'm not sure where the deals are going by. It's a very unusual one, and it's I don't know if we're getting...
Yeah, because I didn't know... Yeah, I didn't know White Wolf even had a hand in any of this stuff anymore. They seem to have just thrown it all out. They're like, oh, we're done with this.
They've been in this weird location for it, I've noticed. That they sort of exist, but don't exist. Because, we had, in the last year, a new, in quotation, new Vampire the Eternal Struggle product. Which, as soon as I got that, I knew there was an existence of White Wolf still. That they have something.
Oh, White Wolf was still doing things. They just gave over a lot of their products to Onyx Path.
Yeah.
I just didn't know. But what they probably did is they probably still had a deal for Vampire and I guess Werewolf. The Apocalypse. Vampire the Masquerade and Werewolf the Apocalypse. But that's where things get kind of confusing because it's okay, well, now they're both doing things because they basically probably kept control and gave control. Hold on. I'm going to look real fast at my... where is it? RPGs, Darkness, books.
Okay, here I found something about the partnership between the two of them. Let's try to learn some more about this one because it's I would like to see if they mention something about what's been going on with that. Okay, come on. And so far, it's like you can't find any information that connects them up with what's going on with Onyx Path, you know?
Yeah, no, I know. Like, they've given complete control over to Onyx Path. Onyx Path basically owns it at this point. How... Ooh, that's interesting. Hold on, let me look to see...
That's the thing is, I don't think they actually did have them own it, though. I think the tricky thing here was...
You're right. Yep, White Wolf's stamp is still on. Oh, hi, Onyx Path.
Hi.
But yeah, White Wolf's logo is still on the newer books. So yeah, White Wolf still, I guess, owns it, even though they're not the ones making it.
Yeah.
They still own part of the content.
Yeah, so this is an interesting situation that's kind of run into it, and I'm unsure what the exact deal is. Though maybe the Onyx Path in chat could send us some information on this one about what the heck is this weird deal going on. Because I figured they had sort of like leased the ability to produce products under it. It sounded like more and produce things under it. I guess lease is not the right word, but yes, like, but yeah, it's like I also knew like White Wolf changed themselves like 7 times over in this time period, so I don't even know what exists from the original company too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but what we're confused about is the whole Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was the case once I realized that White Wolf's logo is still on their books.
You own Trinity now. Awesome. So that's why we're seeing new Trinity stuff from you, because I love Trinity Universe. Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
and we're just confused about what's going on with this Vampire the Masquerade.
You got Scarred Lands too? Ooh. Scarred Lands was if I don't know if you're familiar at all with them. That was the Scarred Lands, I believe, was their Sword and Sorcery Studios. That was their D&D third party stuff. They actually had some pretty cool things in there. I actually had some adventures that we played with it. So Scarred Lands is always awesome. But no, this is very interesting that this kind of, because they're licensing it.
And I guess they could technically license it out to 2 companies at the same time.
Because they're doing different editions. One is the V20, and the other is going to be a 5th edition. Which, we're not sure... Because Modiphius, like, does lore, but I don't think they do as much as, say, let's say, Onyx Path does, from what I've seen.
Yeah. No, Modiphius always kind of has been a little bit more... They do have, I guess they do have some settings. Like, they do Conan the Barbarian, right?
Yes, but most of the time, they have this weird, Oh, okay. See, that's what it is. They're specifically doing it in-house there. That's why. So,
okay.
And that's why Modiphius is just being a distributor. That makes a lot of sense than how this entire thing is set up. Because I can understand how White Wolf now can't really do anything on its own as much. I mean, their company has gone through a lot. And I'm just happy that we have the products now, but it's going to be interesting to see what 5th edition is. Because I've only heard of people play testing it. I haven't seen a lot on it. You know, the differences, I don't know. So
I mean, it's purchasable, or is it just
It's pre-order right now.
It's pre-orderable. Okay. Oh yeah, the pre-order includes. There it is. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I just wasn't sure yet. So yeah, we'll see. That'll be interesting. I thought White Wolf was just like, yeah, we're only gonna license stuff now. We're not gonna make anything. But apparently they decided to start making things again.
And the thing is, they already have plans for 3 books I've seen here. An Anarch book, a Camarilla book, and a 5th edition book. So, I wouldn't be surprised if they put out a Sabbat book then to go with it, of a trifecta of the factions in Masquerade. But that seems to be where I feel like there's a difference too. Like, I don't know if we will see traditional things like clan books as much anymore. Because is there like a product for them? Because I always feel like, you know, you get a lot of great lore books and, you know, like other things on our Onyx Path side, and Modiphius since they're just distributing it, it's going to be a question of what White Wolf is committing to doing as the beings being developing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. And of course they did Vampire, because Vampire is, the Masquerade specifically is probably their most popular thing.
Oh, yeah. No.
So, yeah, I think...
that's a good one there. They're encouraging Onyx Path there to submit pitches to V5 supplements, since they're already popular. So that's going to be interesting. That'll be an interesting kind of connection there about what's going to happen in the future there, since there is still those connections there and the product placement.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be interesting to see how the entire thing will evolve at this point in time, and what it means for Vampire too. I mean, I'm assuming we're going to see a lot of still stuff on Onyx Path sides, because they're always putting out great things. But like where Vampire will go, and if they'll do since I see Werewolf over on there, they might do that with Werewolf too. They might do something like this too.
Yeah, because the things on their website, like the only two books that they're like just posting up front on their website was Vampire and Werewolf. So I've just, maybe they had plans to do something with that in the future, or the Apocalypse.
The thing is, I don't feel like they're connecting with Chronicles. So if you're a fan of Chronicles, you can still go to Onyx Path for that. But like,
I'll be honest, I prefer Chronicles.
I
love
Classic.
The changes Chronicles of Darkness has made.
I don't know if they've changed it from the first time, but when they first came out with Chronicles, I was not a fan of a lot of things they were doing in it. Granted, this was right when it came out, so they could have done a lot of things to fix up and improve Chronicles since then. You know.
Well, yeah, I think part of the issue was that they didn't, like, when they first did it, they didn't really commit to it. They were like, oh, here's some rule changes we can do for some extra stuff, you know? It wasn't like here's a new edition, but people started to kind of fall in love with it, and so they're like, okay, we'll actually turn this into a whole thing. For example, the first book wasn't like the God Machine update rules. They didn't even have a full book for it, but people were like, no, we want a full book for the God Machine. They're like, okay, I guess we'll put out a full book for it.
There's a lot of little things that, like, originally for Chronicles, like the way they built their characters seemed very different, like way too different, as I recall.
I mean, it's only really, they basically just redid Experience. They have the same attributes.
Well,
and stuff.
I mean, like, not like the physical building. I mean, like, Origins and stuff like that seemed very different between Chronicles and Vampire. A little bit of like.
Well, at New Woad, no. Old Woad, yes.
Yeah.
New Woad is, like, Masquerade, yeah, that was different from White Wolf, but they really haven't, I mean, they've changed things, but they haven't, like, redone the world, per se, for the newest stuff.
Because every time I've watched some things on Chronicles now, and I watched some people, like, I was watching Lost Initiative do a little bit of their Chronicles of Darkness, and it's little things in there that I noticed that were very different. That, I mean, nowadays again, this is how long ago, and I was just, you know, like a angry kid. You know, look at me, and like how like it took me forever to like learn acceptance for 4th edition of D&D. Let alone, you know, for a while there I was rallying against that before I was like, oh, this is a great board game.
Well, I never hated 4th edition. I just think it just has its own place that, and I don't agree with the people who say it shouldn't be D&D. I say, actually, it works as D&D. It's just
you have
to approach it from a very different perspective.
And that's the thing is, like, I think that's one of those things that is the perfect thing to say about Chronicles of Darkness. It's still White Wolf, but you have to approach it from a different direction almost a little bit, and that's. I
don't think so.
For someone that did a lot of.
Are you thinking of the original D20 system that Masquerade and stuff had?
No, I'm thinking of the original. It's hard to describe now because it's been like over a decade since I remember the original way the Chronicles of Darkness was. But someone was like describing to me, like.
Okay, so there's like the Old World of Darkness, which is like the D20 system, and like Werewolf, Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf the Apocalypse. Then while White Wolf still had it, they did their version 2, which they called New World of Darkness, Oh gosh, their naming schemes are horrible.
Yeah, I will
New
agree.
World of Darkness, and now it's Chronicles of Darkness. It's like, I
There's
cannot.
a
Like,
lot
people
of
get so
problems in
confused.
there. There's a lot of
But
problems in there. Like
anyway,
I've only
I feel
played.
bad. I feel bad for Onyx Path because they inherited that mess.
Uh-huh. See, like, and well, that's why like 20th anniversary was very. Look, James. I sent you an invite a while ago. You never came back to me because we had an open space.
uh,
Sorry.
yeah, but
We're already in it. But no, I think I would like to see, because yes, getting down to like, okay, yes, we're 5th edition now, you know, and like even like I think like when Onyx Path came out with like just 20th anniversary, yeah, that's what I think is like Old World of Darkness, New World of Darkness. They were being so weird when they kind of started publishing them together, and I like that they did that change. I do like the change between the two of them.
No, I think the name update was actually not a bad thing. I just think it was just still kind of like it makes sense, but it still confuses the heck out of people because especially people who haven't played it in a long time.
Because I technically still do hear people confuse World of Darkness and Chronicles of Darkness, and though there is this like similar blood, I do think there are some distinctions between the way that they are played, and that's what I'm kind of saying. Like, you know, I accept those distinctions now, and I'm not so like against them. But like when I first started, that's what I'm trying to say. Like I was kind of like, distinctions. I don't like these new changes.
The reason the reason I'm confused about your like feeling of distinction is because I actually started playing World of Darkness just before the Chronicles of Darkness rules update, and my GM actually transferred us from that to the new system. And it didn't feel all that different.
No. It was, I guess the easiest way to say it is like character origins concept kind of thing, like how you would be embraced, like the connections between clans and bloodlines, a lot of the storyline, which I was feeling at the time was pretty like interesting and integral to like some of the base characters. Like when we're talking about World of Darkness, you know, being like, for a standard game, you're part of the Camarilla normally, or like associated with it. You're associated with those clans, at least if you're just going very simple base rules back in the day. Because there was all these other clans and stuff. There was all the Sabbat groups, but those were supplementals, you know? We had like the 7 core clans in those original books.
And then there was the Tizmiche supplement? I don't remember.
Simiche was Sabbat. Simiche, La Sombra, and I'm probably forgetting one. I think those were
I'll be honest, Vampire was and has always been my least favorite World of Darkness. See,
that's the one I started with a lot of, so that's why I was used to it. And I
started with Changeling and generic World of Darkness and Werewolf. So those ones are the ones I like the most.
Actually, technically, I think Mage was my first one, followed by Vampire, followed by Werewolf.
Oh gosh. I don't even know how you did Mage first. That sounds like a pain.
I didn't do a lot of Mage before I did Vampire. I did very little of it, and that helped.
Yeah. I need to read through that Mage book. I bought it, and I've just been like sitting, every time I go to read it, I'm like, do I want to read a textbook? Not today.
Mage the Ascension was one of those games that I've always liked for has Onyx Path done a Mage 20th anniversary? I'm sure they have.
I don't know about 20th anniversary. They definitely have a Chronicles of Darkness version of Mage. I'm still waiting for the Chronicles of Darkness version of Changeling to finally come out.
I think it's on the docket.
It's I think it's supposed to be released this summer, if I'm not mistaken, but it's still just like I'm excited for it. Changeling is my friend's favorite and my second favorite. So
I know of Changeling, but I haven't had a lot of chance to experience it though, personally.
Yeah.
There has been a 20th anniversary. Okay. I looked that up quickly, and I just wanted to check that. Yes, there has been a 20th anniversary of Mage Ascension, which, you know, I would want to maybe try that out because as I said, Mage always has an interesting place to it, and it's Joe's favorite. Anyway. But yes, so it's 5th edition, because it technically is 5 editions of Vampire the Masquerade Edge. Okay, I knew they'd do Dark Ages, where Apocalypse, Mage Ascension, Changeling, Dreamer, and Wraith the Oblivion are coming out shortly. So Changeling and Wraith are coming out. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Man, I would love to see Wraith is one of those ones I looked at, and I have one of the books for, and it kind of hurts my soul because it's kind of like, you're a ghost and you're possessing things, kind of weird stuff like that.
Yeah.
Wraith,
is this their first time doing Wraith? I can't remember if Wraith is one of the new ones, like Beast was.
Wraith, again, I think came out much later, along with things like Demon, Mummy. Those were much of the later World of Darkness ones.
Yeah, well, Demon is there was like Demon stuff, but Demon now is Chronicles of Darkness through and through. Demon is based off the God Machine Chronicles. Like, it's basically was the first book it was kind of like one of the books that kind of started it.
I think there was a World of Darkness version of Demon, I believe.
There were World of Darkness demons, but they are not the same demon.
I know. Well, demon as a word does not mean the same thing in them too. It was also like yeah.
That's So
Wraith was 94. Okay.
Okay, so Wraith was an older one, I guess.
Well, I was like, that's why I remember it, because early teens is when I first saw it. So it had been out for a while, but that's when I first saw it. Because that was like, World of Darkness, I think, was right after D&D, like the system I kind of like hit into some of, but that's besides the point. That's a weird transition. No, I think there was some Shadowrun in there, but I was just knowing about it.
Yeah.
But anyway, because we could talk about this for hours, I'm sure, and we should probably move on to some of our other topics.
Yeah, probably.
it's the 5th edition out. It's distributed by Modiphius. It's World of Darkness. Let's keep an eye on it. I think we can talk about it when we can see some books, or they're gonna show us like. I'd be interested to see if they have a quick start supplemental or something of this, because Modiphius is known for it, and this is the kind of time period where those are very popular.
Yeah, Modiphius has been trying to get those out for a lot of their stuff, so...
They suggest
but they don't
that to
own this in the same way that they do their other ones.
I know, so that's the thing, is will we see it? I think it would be good to see it, but... I don't know. I guess we'll have to rely on Onyx Path to see what they put out with for this one.
Yep.
So.
Well, you mean White Wolf?
That's what I mean. Dang it! I'm getting myself confused. Woo,
that's fair. This is a very confusing web, I gotta admit.
We've entered into this crazy web of shadows that is the history of White Wolf and its singularities or something,
It's called business.
Well, I'm not even adding in like the collectible card game, which, as I said, they just published something for it last year that included new material and some old material republished, and it was an actual printed version of it. And the fact is, Wizards of the Coast were the first to publish that. And then they took it over and were publishing it themselves. They're CCG. Which is just another flux in the web. Anyway. All right, why don't we move on topics, because we do want to cover a couple other here, Tay, before we go too late. Let's move on and talk about the D&D Unearthed Arcana. That's always a great one.
Yes.
Okay.
I am interested in this.
No, I could show you the picture of the Unearthed Arcana thing, but I'm sure everybody's seen it in the background. There is no real picture here. It's a PDF, so I'm just going to say that now.
Okay.
Well, why don't we introduce it?
Yeah, let's introduce it first.
So, new Unearthed Arcana came out this week. It's playtest material for playing as centaurs and minotaurs. I guess medium versions of them? Question mark?
Yeah. Well, playable minotaurs have always been medium. The thing is they've never released a playable centaur, to my knowledge.
Yeah, I've known about the medium minotaurs in the past for being playable versions of them. But yeah, the centaur one is the one that really, like, stands out for me as being unusual. They are interesting just for the fact that they are such, like, non-humanoid races. Well, yeah. Minotaur, yes and no. I mean, Minotaur are, our traditional, bull-headed, half bull people. But, like, you get into... I think the centaur is the one that really stands out because it's four-legged.
it's four-legged. It's always been large. There's never been a playable race besides monster races that has existed, and I can see why they don't want to make it large. Large is very powerful in 5e. Basically, what large does, if you were to just up it to large, you would double all dice rolled for damage output, which is very powerful. Well, and I personally, basically it'd be nearly impossible to balance.
Yeah. So I understand definitely making them all like medium. You know, the Minotaur. You know, as I said, we've seen that before. The Centaur is the new one, but are you a ponytar? I mean,
no. See, the funny thing is in it says a medium creature can ride you.
Yeah. In size, they're comparable to human rider mounted on a horse. They fill similar roles, but they give you... Oh! I understand it now. It's come to my brain power. It's coming to my mind as to why they're calling you medium. Your upper torso is medium. We're ignoring the bottom part of you because your weapons and stuff are all going to be man-sized. You're top half of a man.
I actually came to that conclusion probably around the same time you did.
Yeah.
It hit me as well, where it's like, okay, this makes sense. So
in a weird way, they've made
it makes sense. But I don't know why they still call you size medium. I don't think there's any issue saying you're size large, but you use medium damage.
Which is really the only thing you'd have to mention on the sizes. Because you really, like, if we're looking at it, horses are large. You're filling a large spot. Yeah. Like, the only thing that you could even complain about with the size is the hooves, which they give you damage for.
Yep.
You know, they're like, it does this. So... you count as one size category large for determining your carry capacity. Instead, they make you medium and have you count for larger for things. Specifically is what it says. So...
yeah. I'll be honest, if I were to run this, I'd probably just make them probably say, no, you're actually large. You take up a 2x2 square.
You occupy the same squares as a horse. Anything else is just special.
Like moving into a 5x5 square, you have to squeeze. I don't find an issue with that personally as a DM. I think they do this I think in part they're like, you're medium, sure, is to kind of just keep players the same size. Because 5e seems to have a weird reason. I think 5e does it because they can't guarantee their modules will work with something that's not a 5-foot character. Or a 5-foot square character. So I don't think because their modules are not built to, that basically, if they have this as an official character, they can't come out and be like, you can't play this in this module because it won't work. You know, it's kind of like, that may be why they're like saying, yeah, they're medium, ignore everything else. Yeah, they're medium. Don't worry about it. They're medium.
Simplifying it and basically saying medium and then adding in like, here's where it would be large rather than the reverse, which would make sense. But we understand that this is to make it easier for newer people maybe too. That wouldn't understand this delineation between the two. So, like, a newer player that's like, oh, that'd be really awesome to play a Centaur. Can I play one? Because the other players could possibly play it, too. And I'm like, you're like, sure, go ahead. And you don't have to explain to them that, you're large, but treated differently. Instead it's like, well, this is how it works. You're just the same size as everybody else. But there's some things that are extra,
Yeah. It's actually funny because I know a group. Actually, it's Team 4-Star, the people who make Dragon Ball Z Abridged and stuff. They do gaming stuff, and when they do have a D&D game where one of the players is an asinine centaur. Basically, it's a donkey centaur, which is how they justified him being medium size.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that. That's how they did it, and it's homebrewed because this obviously wasn't out yet. But it's kind of funny how they did it. Where was I going with this? I had a train of thought. I needed to give a bunch of caveats, and now I lost my train of thought.
Okay. That happens.
Yep.
I mean, it's interesting that we have it this way. Because, yes, and I agree with Unfunny One in chat who's saying that it's the maps that we have are more built for medium anyway. So this makes
that's basically what I was saying is these things are built for medium characters.
Yeah.
So if you have a large person who's going to always have to be squeezing in all of these areas, it's kind of a pain.
And I think another thing is, because they've simplified a lot of stuff, we don't have that delineation between large, tall, large, long anymore. You know.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. I was going to say, like, in theory, they should be just take up 2 5x5 squares in length.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't do that.
They'd said that they would take up a 2x2 area, like 4 squares.
Yeah.
So by saying that they're medium, maybe, like, a clever GM might just be saying, like, oh, you can't stand behind them, they take up an extra space, you're just a little longer than most, there's a little problem with someone kind of squeezing in behind you there.
Yeah, like, in theory, they should be 5, basically, they should be human in width, but not really in height or length.
Yes, it does already say that they're taller,
Yeah.
and that makes sense. And just by, like, giving that little description, because the fact is, large, long, like basically 5x2 squares, or 1x2 squares, I was going to say 5x10 feet, works just fine in most dungeons, even like the humanoid one, the medium-sized ones. There aren't a lot of circumstances where you couldn't, move 2 squares around like that, it's very difficult to run into a situation where that would end up being very bad. And the fact is, because it's already describing you as being very towering and stuff, you might just not have them squeeze anyway. Even if, you just consider them the 1 square. It's like, you're not squeezing in this because you're still pretty big in comparison to everybody else. You're half man, half horse. Come on, live with it. You're not...
Yeah, like, I personally would basically just make it so they don't technically squeeze in hallways, but I might make,
they take up 2 spaces, so, like, if you're having them in a line, there's an extra space in between them, You can't get behind that guy's butt.
Yeah, like, basically, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a weird thing where I think it's just, yeah,
that's why, I usually use flanking rules very optionally, if I use them at all, Because flanking rules are optional, too, in 5th edition. If you ever...
I use like all the optional rules because they make things more tactical.
I'm a mixed bag. I usually do, but I understand.
Yeah, there are some variant rules that I don't use, but like for the most part, if it's a variant rule, you could probably assume I'm using it.
Yeah. So Centaurs are the very interesting one, and I guess then. We do have to talk about the Minotaur a little bit. That's like...
Yeah, but they technically already have a Minotaur. They have their, I think it's... What world was it for?
I don't know, but...
was it Eberron, or was it something else?
They said it's for...
Greyhawk?
Greyhawk, probably, because they're talking about Kryn. And Kryn is Kryn space, which is Greyhawk's world.
Yeah, so basically, the Minotaurs and Greyhawk are like seafaring, so they already technically have the seafaring Minotaurs. This is just them going, oh, here are standard Minotaurs if you don't want to go for the seafaring.
And, I mean, they're talking about how, they had a playtest version in Unearthed Arcana of a Minotaur back in 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So, this
That's
is
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The Unearthed Arcana one, which was, supposed to be Greyhawk.
Yeah, but they're this is for other places. This is more standard, Which is good. And, I look at these and I'm like, there's probably nothing really wrong with this one. It's very interesting. It's like you're still... Both of these are interesting because they're both humanoid and monstrosities, that they have that hybrid nature, You're like, I'm both a humanoid and a horrible monster. Growl!
Yeah, the interesting thing about this is, if there are any spells which are not supposed to affect humans at lower level... they can affect you at lower level, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, I feel like most things are humans, not creatures, rather than creatures, not humans. So
yeah, there's this weird balance between it. Yeah.
Not as complicated.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't cause too many complications, I don't think. But yeah, I mean, Minotaur. That's why I don't think the Minotaurs are as big of a deal. Basically, I do kind of agree. For a Minotaur, if you're gonna do them, they have to be medium. If you're gonna make them play, because just doubling damage again is very powerful. Ah ha ha, unfunny one. Yes, humanoid, not human. I understand.
I'm swinging my hand around here and ra ba 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 ba. Bah. They're humanoids. Yeah. Yes, humanoids.
Oh, actually, they even say here in 2015, Minotaurs appeared in the playtest option in Arcana. So yeah.
Yeah. That's why I was like reading through that, and I noticed that, and they do mention, they're suitable for the Kryn ones, or other places that Baphomet has its influence. Yeah. Which Baphomet. That's it, Baphomet. Which I was in a game where he got turned into a newt because he was not immune to polymorph at the time. Because in 3.5 he wasn't immune to it. At least the version that we saw of him. So he got turned into a newt. Yep, Baphomet. That's what I remember about him. Turned into a newt.
Yeah, and this is an interesting development. The humanoid and monstrosity, because it's interesting that they would make that delineation. Because I don't think let me check actually. Where's my monster manual? There it is.
I think another thing about this is it opens the door to more hybrid nature type creatures that maybe now, like some of those more unusual creatures that seem like they'd be really cool to play, we'd have options for.
Or they could fall into some other categories.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, there's other races that maybe we can see now that this is sort of like testing out playing monstrosity types that, we can open up to other things. And I think that's one of the interesting components that maybe we can see now. We can see some other more monstrous type creatures. Maybe not necessarily just monstrosities, but we could see them being optioned for player characters because of this.
Yeah. So looking at centaurs in the monster manual, they're just monstrosities. They're just, they're large. They're just monstrosities. They do all that extra damage that a large creature would. No, wait. No, they don't. No, they actually do normal damage. Fun. Actually, that was taken into consideration then.
Well, I maybe taken into consideration for different reasons.
Well, no, I'm saying, like, if you... time to play.
Look. All I remember is... What was it? It was gelatinous. Back from 3.0 in Savage Species, was a template which did not add any level adjustment to it. So one of my DM always joked, you can have gelatinous for free. The problem with gelatinous is it reduced your intelligence to slash.
Yep.
Or it might not have been slash, it was like you lose enough intelligence that you'd effectively be like animal intelligence at best or something. You'd be really dumb as gelatinous. So the argument was that, yes, you get gelatinous for free, but maybe if you played another template, you could at least have an intelligence worth playing, like a 3 or something. You could be like, you'd be like functionally so bad.
Yeah.
But free gelatinous. Oozes are interesting things. Like, but I didn't think oozes...
Now I'm thinking of a character concept of an ooze who ate a human, but instead of mutated to where the brain didn't dissolve, it just kind of became the brain, or like the brain kind of became a part of it. Wow. And then now it's like an intelligent slime. I think that'd be a very amusing character concept. Well, now to find a GM who would allow that to play.
And somehow figure out some rules to play. No, I think that'd be a cool one. But I mean, for me, I was thinking some fae creatures, which are very humanoid. Maybe you'd have options for. You probably couldn't do giants, but I mean, it opens the door for more things like giants and other things too. There are other.
I'm not going to do anything that's specifically large for the aforementioned reason.
Yeah, that's the only thing about. There are very few not large giants, and they're usually subspecies.
Yeah, well, you can, or hybrid species like
you could be maybe could do some hybrid species. Like you could have something that Secret World of Alex Mack concept. That's really what it would be. Yeah. I was thinking like, half ogres, half trolls, maybe even, something like that. Where it's like, this should not have bred, but it did. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Because half ogre is a traditional one back from 3.0, 3.5. They had each had a version of it. So I mean,
it's a monster in the monster manual.
Oh, half ogre is?
Yeah.
Oh. I can't remember everything in the new monster manual. I haven't paged through it much the same way I paged through the 3rd edition ones.
I have... The 5e is the... I'm going to say the first D&D edition I played extensively. I've played other editions, but every single game I've played of any other edition has fallen apart relatively quickly.
I've only had to run 5th edition once myself, so I haven't had as much experience, and that was for Curse of Strahd. And a couple of times with you guys, but most of the time you've been fighting, random monsters that I decided from the book or actual NPC-type enemies. So... I haven't had any chance to, what am I have to find something here, and,
Here it is, half ogre.
Yeah. Huh. Yep. So I guess there's a lot of interesting things that they could open up to, pretty much, is what we're kind of saying with this. That I am interested in seeing if they use it as an excuse to open up to these things.
Mm-hmm.
Because they very well could. Again, they might decide to do something else entirely, but we'll have to see what they do.
Yep.
Yeah. Alright, why don't we continue to push onwards, just because we do have some more things that we want to talk about. And we're, chugging along here pretty well. Munchkin cheats. It's kind of what we want. Alright. So, Munchkin has come out, Stevejackson Games, that's more appropriately, has come out with a new product, Munchkin Cheats. Let me see if that shows up and I do that. It does! Look at that. It's successfully set up ahead of time. Effectively, this is cards for cheating in Munchkin, which is one of those rules. It's 30 cards in a rule sheet, so it's not like a big expansion or anything, but it's a variety of different ways of cheating. And when you consider that core Munchkin is kind of huge now, if you have all the expansions for it, it's 30 cards isn't a lot, Yeah, and of course I think they're including stuff that's like monsters and curses that are anti-cheating, which is kind of cool. So, and yes, they're like, it can add to any Munchkin set. Well, yes, but it looks core for the nature of the cards. When you see the pictures of it, their core kind of design, the original Munchkin. I like this product because it is what Munchkin is.
Yeah.
This is something that's very... I say, oh, I kind of want to get this, for my game,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because lately a lot of their expansions have been Munchkin Pathfinder type or whatever, but
yeah.
like Munchkin Shakespeare,
Munchkin Starfinder, because we're partnering with Paizo. Well,
a lot.
Well, I mean, the Munchkin line of games went too ridiculous too, I think, and that's something we don't talk about as much because they have
But I don't think that's the issue with Munchkin. Ridiculous is what Munchkin needs.
Well,
the issue is that they went to, how to put it,
Well, I wasn't even talking about the side you're thinking about. I was talking about their, Munchkin-branded other versions of board games.
Yeah, well...
Because that's a thing that they did a lot of, too.
Yeah, I don't fault them as much for that because they a lot of games do that. I mean, come on, Star Trek Catan.
Well, yeah, I'll give you that. The thing is,
I mean, how many Star Trek, Star Wars versions of things are there? I mean, let's be real.
It's just I don't.
They're trying to do that, and I don't think that's horrible. I don't think Munchkin's necessarily the game for it, but I can see why they think that's okay.
I see why they think it's okay, yes. And I'm unsure and that's the thing I'm going to say, if the Munchkin versions of these things are different enough. Like, I've played Star Trek and Star Trek Catan, and they are quite different from each other.
They try to add a new spin to it. Yes, I do agree.
Like, I've played Castle Panic, which we did before, and I played Star Trek Panic, and Star Trek Panic is very, very different. There's this core, there's a similarity, but instead of just having to kill all the monsters, you're trying to complete missions, which have all these requirements, and if the monsters run out in the bag, you shuffle them back in. So, it's like, and you all play with characters with abilities, so there's this core that's very similar, but they did their own, like, Star Trek version of it that actually was very different. Different enough, you know? And I'm not sure if, like, Munchkin... I think there is, like, other... Like, a Munchkin Gloom and a Munchkin, like, Panic and things like that. But I'm not sure if these are... Oh, there is. There's Munchkin Gloom, Munchkin Smash Up, Munchkin Panic, Munchkin Loot Letter, which is Love Letter.
I think Munchkin Smash Up should be fine, because Smash Up is all about mixing things together.
Yeah, Smash Up is one I will give. The Panic, the Gloom, definitely. I'm like, that one I think is way too much of a stretch for the way that...
Gloom is Gloom doesn't feel like it... Gloom is about kind of the, like, weird tragedy thing that is the game. It's about
weird tragedy and trying to be creative and maybe add stories to your weird tragedies, you know?
Yeah, but... I don't see how that fits in with Munchkin.
The Loot Letter, the Love Letter is very simple, so again, that's another one I'm like...
Panic, for the Panic one, I'd have to read the rules.
Yeah, that's the one that's kind of in the middle.
Yeah, but Gloom, I don't see it, because it's like, okay, Munchkin's already a card game. Why are you trying to steal Gloom's card game concept in a way that does... The point of Gloom is that it's kind of dark and dreary. How do you do that with Munchkin? I guess if you don't go for a different theme, but at the same time,
I guess the cards are
Munchkin
supposed to be all like
enough of a story to, you know.
I guess like it's supposed to be like, oh, it's you're building it like here's the tragedies that are befalling your heroes. Oh, you know, it's like, but yeah. But, like, some of the tragedy that's part of Gloom, you know, but this is a little off topic,
Anyway, but yeah, I do agree, this is kind of a neat, they're kind of trying to go, I like that they're going to add in more of, you know, what Munchkin is. Now, if only they will make, if only they'll make some sort of cheating mechanic in their collectible card game.
Which the collectible card game is coming out with something this month. I just didn't want to, you know... I don't know if we want to talk about it more. We've kind of...
We'll talk about it when it comes out. How about that?
I mean, we've kind of, like, put it down a lot, a bunch.
Well, yeah, that's because... But you guys had... It was, like, after you guys had played it, there was also, you know... There were a couple of reasons.
Yeah, and we just... Again, it's a game which I will, just for the side here... I'm sure there are people out there that enjoy it a lot. We did not have as much fun. I don't think they had a balancing enough at that point in time. Maybe with more products, they'll rebalance themselves a little bit.
Anyway.
Yeah, anyway. But, so, back to Munchkin Cheats. It's a good product for Munchkin game, I'm sure. It's the kind of thing you want. And they only show, like, 3 or 4 of the cards off in their photos. Well, no, they got a bunch more on the back of their... They got a bunch on the back of the book. But, like, you know, anti-cheat creatures, curses that, you know, hit you if you're a cheater, and a lot of different types of cheating. You know, it's fun. Cheating was always something that was a little, like, fun thing that you could do anyway in Munchkin, and doing it with the cards was really fun, because that was sort of like, I can cheat in front of you, na-na-na-na-na-na-na. You know, because that was always the thing about Munchkin, is if you're not caught, it isn't cheating anyway. That's why I always liked it.
Yeah.
So it's like if you just keep bringing cards in your hand and like someone then finally catches you that you got like 30 cards in your hand, you're like, oh yeah, I should discard some of these. Build them up a little too much. I want to see Stevejackson game hit more of these notes. You know, I would love for them to get back to more of this and stop with the craziness. This is the kind of thing that I like Stevejackson games for. So, I don't know. I guess we're just going to have to see where they go, if anywhere, from here. We haven't... I haven't seen, like, a really good direction otherwise anyway, so... Well, unless you have anything else to say, I think we can move on to...
Not about Munchkin.
That's good. we got some stuff off our chest. Okay, Starfinder. The flip map, Sunrise Maiden, is this next one here. So, okay, I think we've had some discussions on flip maps before, and flip maps are interesting, and I have nothing against them, truthfully speaking. If you want to have a flip map that you can play with, and this one I feel like is skirting a line here that I'm worried they might cross with it, and that's why I wanted to talk about it a little bit. It's of a specific ship. Granted, yes, I could use this starship for other things. You know, it's a double-sized, one, it's specifically with the Dead Sun's Adventure Path, which we were talking about, some craziness in that one, and one's got the detailed interior of the Sunrise Maiden starship depicted on one side, while the exterior of it on a docking bay is the other. So that's kind of interesting. If is it supposed to be like smaller squares on the other side? Oh, hey, that popped up perfectly from one to the other. I didn't have to correct the browser. I'm happy about that.
Yeah. I mean, I can see the annoyance here, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I don't mind having a ship, you know, like, that if they were going to do a ship flip map, they would have to make it a ship.
Yeah. And I can see, like, yes, this is a starship that, you know, is in one of the main quests they have. So plenty of people playing the Dead Sun's Adventure Path will probably want it. And I think that is a fine place to be at, in a way. But I feel like there's this fine line that they could go too specific. And I worry that they're moving in that direction a little bit with this here. Like,
yeah.
Like, there's certain products that have been for their specific adventure paths that I've accepted because they have very infinite replay value, you know? The pawn boxes for an adventure path. Those are pretty good because a lot of times these are extra pawns of different creatures that maybe, like, the original just core pawn box. I got, like, 2 zombies. I want to have 5 zombies. Oh, in this adventure, I got 3 extra zombies. Hey, I got my zombie tokens. Or, like, yes, maybe this cool-looking NPC, I could see a point for them in the time. It's kind of why I collect the D&D miniature. When I collected the D&D miniatures, when I got them all, it's because I could feel I could use them in a lot of different places because maybe, yeah, some of these were pretty specific, but they were pretty cool-looking.
Yeah.
Maps are a little harder for that. Because...
So... continue, sorry.
I was going to say, because, like, as much as, like, a miniature, I could use it in 2 different spots, and it's just like, oh, they look similar. It's the exact same map. I could probably use it once.
Yeah,
like,
so here's the thing I have. A ship is nice, because let's be real, you can have the same you can say, oh, these are mass-produced ship layouts.
Yeah.
You play multiple games and have the ship for same ship for every single one. Yeah, it might get a little bit boring, especially if you have players who really like to customize their ship and how it's laid out or whatever. You can't really do this. But, you know, the thing is they've also released an asteroid base flip map, which is a single asteroid base. And it's like, well, you're not going to be able to, you know, play on that multiple times either. And they released that not as here's a specific ship from this specific campaign. They released it as, here's a generic thing that you can use.
I think that's one of those problems that's a little different from some of the other flip maps before. Like, I feel like the fantasy flip maps, you know, you can kind of sometimes excuse off things a little bit more. Because, like, oh, I could use a section of this and, like, just maybe cover over parts of the map. Or, and then just change the rooms around or something. And you could do creative things like that. A starship or a base is a little bit more inhabited, I guess is a great way of saying it. So you don't really have that excuse as much of, like, you know, with ruins you can pretend a lot of crap. You know, it's abandoned.
Yeah, and there's also a very nice trick as a GM where here's the same map, rotated.
Yeah, there's lots of little things you can do.
It's actually really funny because a natural map rotated can look so different.
Yeah, and those are little things you can do that can make a lot of those other flip maps reusable, I feel, a lot more. Like,
yeah.
And a lot of them, I like what it's got a bridge. Well, I'm probably not going to plan an entire adventure on this bridge, but I'm using this one side of the bridge for easily an encounter. And if it's just for, like, a small or / maybe important encounter, people can usually explain that off a lot more. While for something like this feels more important because it is an entire ship.
Yeah, like I'm agreeing with Unfunny One. If it's your home ship, it works fine because if you're fine having that be your ship, then any ship combat where people board you have a map for it, and it's a very reusable thing. You know, just like the asteroid thing. Actually, if you apply the same logic to that, if your characters like own a base on an asteroid, and that's their home base, it works great. These specific flip maps work if you work them in such a way to where they become reusable.
Yeah, I think that's the problem is you have to be a little bit more work and on the GM side. Which, again, I'm not necessarily against, but I feel like that's probably not a great direction for Paizo to go in. To be like, well, you know, we're putting out these cool things. You're going to have to work to use them a lot. But, you know, you can.
To be fair, though, they are put out in part of their map subscription, which I think just gives you the PDF. But if I had to guess, they're probably 8.5 by 11 maps.
Yeah, and usually nowadays, if you really needed to print them out, you could probably plan to place like a Kinko's or something that you could get the individual pages or something printed out for most PDFs. So in color. So maybe even laminated and just put together into one big sheet then or something.
So again, like if you're just getting these as part of the map subscription and they're kind of just you're getting a bunch of extra stuff just to kind of use, I don't mind the concept of extra tools. It's buying the specific print edition. You'd probably have to be I'd probably have to be a lot more fanatic to trying to collect everything to get those. Yeah,
because it is $20 for the big old map. Yeah.
Yeah. But I just don't know what their actual size is, because it doesn't say.
Flip maps, I think somewhere under there it mentions the size of them. Let me check maps. God. I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to find it. I remember I've seen it before.
I know their basic terrain flip map, it says on there that it's 24 by 30, but this ship map, it doesn't say specifically.
I forgot I had the phone up here. I'm going to mute a second if you want to look that up.
Okay, let's see. Where was it? You are not muted.
Someone was around to get the line on the other end, so I didn't have to go into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, you weren't muted there for a second.
I know. I muted it for the stream, and not for you, though.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I tried to do it the reverse at first, and I'm like, wait, no, that's not making sense. I guess I could do both, but anyway, I think, like, personally, like, for me, when I would look at some things like those, like better bridges or whatever it was for Pathfinder, I could see myself spending, like, $20 on something like that to have a cool big map that I could use for, like, bridge encounters a couple of times. Like, anytime I have a bridge encounter, yeah, maybe, I'm using the same thing over and over again, but I'd be like, here, we're ready for a bridge encounter, or like, I probably wouldn't use it, like, for random encounters every time, but I might use it occasionally, like, oh, you were at a bridge when this happened. Or if, like, an adventure takes them to a bridge. There's circumstances that some of these things here, I feel like they're very good for reusability. This one, yeah. If it's a base of operation, like what Unfunny was saying, I could see it then. But there's just that... there's just something to it that's just like... I don't think it's as good.
Yeah. So...
And I think they... I think that's one of the problems with Starfinder, is what I'm actually going to say with this one. Is I think it's harder to find these flip maps. You know, in D&D, a bridge or a forest glade or like an inn or something. Those are pretty standard. Here, an asteroid, a ship, those are much more standard for spacefaring adventures. And so it becomes a lot harder to pass off reusability a little bit then.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I mean, the ship... I mean, again, as long as you get a ship for your group as their home ship, I don't see it. For other ships, yeah, I'd prefer a module set.
Module set would be really good. Like, build your own spaceship, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But, yeah, also, definitely larger, because it's... I couldn't find the specific sizes, but it's, it was, 28 tiles across, and usually they're 1-inch tiles, so...
And that's approximately, every inch is about 5 feet traditionally, and especially with these kind of maps where you're putting your miniatures down on it, or you're supposed to. So that would be 140 feet wide or long or something, which isn't that big. When you think about it, isn't actually that big. It's a pretty small spaceship.
Uh-huh.
So...
yeah.
Like,
so,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, I agree. If you're gonna go, I'll be honest. I probably might be okay with a ship. But yeah, just having blank tiles or either a blank map which you can draw on, or those tiles that you can just build a dungeon with. I'd probably go for those over flip map when it comes, because honestly you can get a pack of those for probably $20 or $30.
Yeah. And
a big box full of them, so I don't see why you would go for a flip map.
I mean, if you're
get a modular set.
If you're running the Dead Sun's Adventure Path a lot, or a couple of different times, or
that's another point. If you're a DM who reruns campaigns for different groups,
this might be great for you.
Yep.
It's again, I'm not as supportive as the pawn boxes for these specific adventure paths, because I can see a lot more replayability out of those. But this,
well, yeah. But yeah, this, it's if it's one specific ship for one specific combat and one specific adventure module, why?
I can only assume the Sunrise Maiden is maybe the core ship that you're given.
No, I would assume so. They would not do this if it wasn't.
Yeah,
because they.
But I'm
because
it also comes down to how many times is your ship going to be invaded for you to need to worry about it?
That depends on how many times you're on the random encounter table.
Wouldn't you want to invade other people or something? I don't know. Whatever. So, I mean, the flip map Sunrise Maiden is out now. It's up to you if you think it would be good for your group. Again, it's specific. That's the thing I only have to complain about it, is it's very specific. If you feel like your group could use it greatly, I'd say get it. If it's going to help you. So.
Yeah.
This is definitely more of a case-by-case product, I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm.
So. All right, the final topic I wanted to hit up a little bit is that we have seen a little bit more of Fragged Empire, which hopefully I can bring up successfully now. Maybe, probably, hopefully. We'll see. I'll bring up one of these books. Kingdom. Kingdom looks cool. We'll bring up that image. Oh, I didn't want to change pages. Let's see how well that worked. It didn't work at all. Anyway, so I'll bring this up. So, I tried. And something's wrong, I think, with my... I think something's going really wrong, because my mouse keeps going ba-doop boop and stopping temporarily and then starting again. I don't know if anybody hears the little noise, because you hear my, system of the boop 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 as my mouse stops working temporarily and then starts working again.
Well, I'm not hearing it, so... But then again, you probably don't have that pipe to me.
No. I'm worried that maybe I have to get a new mouse now. I keep trying to select a browser window and fix this up here and it's not cooperating. Anyway, there we go. Select region. Okay. Boop boop. That's not the page I wanted. There we go.
So I must have been gone for when you first discussed this, because you mentioned again.
I think we've talked about Fragged Empire in the past, is the only thing I want to say. I've mentioned it maybe a long time ago, like very early on in Discussing Tabletop's time period. I think we talked about Fragged Empire. I believe it was when the original books might have come out. Me and Joe, I don't know who we had on as guests, talked about it, I believe. Or we talked about something that came out for it. I am honestly the most forgetful person. I think we talked about the core book when it came out. Because the core book came out... a long time ago.
Yeah, so this is an expansion to Fragged...
Yeah, 3 books that are expansions to it. So they're...
Fragged Empire is the core. Okay.
Yeah, Fragged Empire is the core. So... Just a refresher for Fragged Empire. It is a post-apocalyptic sci-fi experience. It's supposed to explore themes of cultural tension, genetics, engineering, exploration. So it's a apocalyptic world, but it's a green apocalyptic world. So horrible things happen, but the world's recovered. It's not like nuclear wasteland apocalyptic, which it sounds stupid, but there are very big differences between apocalyptic wasteland and apocalyptic just people are mostly gone. Those are very different things. So, it was using some of the, Modiphius's traditional rules. As far as I know, it seemed like a 2D20 system, or 2D20 system. It was supposed to be sort of adaptable rules, non-linear character progression, that kind of thing. And so they've come out with 3 books on it. Arentum, which is supposed to be a specific city that they have, which they have some extra combat rules, and some extra setting things. So, this one specifically, they do tout that they have some simplified rules. So basically, they have, I guess, here's some easy rules, and some easy rules for combat, it sounds like they kind of focus on. They have the Frag Seas, which, focus on, a place of magic, myth, and adventure, they call it, upon the seas, where you're navigating the fairy seas on Toil, which is kind of weird, because it's like a piracy thing, and I'm not sure, because it's under the Fragged Empire banner. The Fragged Empire, I didn't really pick up for the core a lot of, mysticism, and apparently, the level that they have of magic and monsters here with piracy. So I don't know if it's just using the same rules set, because it does require the Fragged Empire core rules and doing its own thing, or what with this one here. And Fragged Kingdom, which is another world scarred by magic, druidic wars, and overflowing with monsters. I kind of feel like all 3 of these books are almost like, here's a couple other worlds which could connect to these things. I don't know, it's very weird how these books did it, It's like, the more I look into them, the more I'm like, these are interesting, but they're also I feel like the settings themselves are almost like, we have 3 books each with their own little settings that you can almost play in that are using the same rules.
The Seas one, it says there are rules for sailing ships, and momentum and combat and stuff like that.
Yeah. But,
so there are rules for that in it.
Yeah. So each of them seems to provide their own rules, which I'm sure you could use with the base game and its base setting. But like when you
Fragged Kingdom has crafting in it. That's cool.
Yeah, I know. It is interesting things, but again, it's
nation building rules. That's actually cool. I hope they're good because I find like big armies and nation building rules tend to be cumbersome and dumb in a lot of systems.
That is true. I think that's one of those things that really might make a difference here. I think my entire thing here that I've found interesting in making this a worthy conversation piece is that we're almost taking a single RPG and very quickly dividing it into 4 settings. You know? Which, of course, D&D has multiple settings, but they had like 3 decades to build multiple settings. Fragged Empire's done it like 2 years to go on to 4. Is that good?
Well, I think they're more... I don't think that's so bad. Because these are not... From what I can read, they're different places within the same world that have different
rules,
like atmospheres. No, they're not different rules. They're rules additions.
Well, the thing is, like, the core book has you a genetically engineered remnant created from the ruins of a genocidal war and mentions nothing about magic or anything like that. That's like the basic setting for the original Fragged Empire. Then we have the street ones, which talks about an immortal tethered, like an undying champions that protect humanity and stuff like that. And there's celestials and fiends. We have the sea one, where there's a magic, myth, and adventure, with pirate fleets, great monsters, and dark magics, eldritch gods. And the Fragged Kingdoms, which is like druidic magic and monsters. So they could be set in the same world, and I'm not saying they couldn't be, but all 4 of them sound very, very different, like almost completely different settings is the thing too. Because what do we have? Like ancient, like Dark City, kind of more horror aspects with the
There's one other thing I want to say. You say D&D created different settings over long periods of time, but you also got to remember D&D's settings are the size of actual planets. Like, you basically have, you have, what is it, Brain?
There's...
what's the Sword Coast Adventure in? It's
Forgotten Realms.
Forgotten Realms. Forgotten Realms is basically like Mirror Earth. They have equivalents of, like, every area of Earth. They have, like, and they have rules and religions and plots and stuff they've done in all of these areas. And so it's kind of like...
No, and I do understand that, you know, it is a different comparison. Because, like, if we compare the settings that D&D has come up with, they are very large. Even some of the minor ones from, like, AD&D are themselves pretty scaled up epic. You know, and if you, like, look into the lore behind them, are a lot. You know, like, Eberron and Dark Sun were originally player made before they were kind of integrated into the direct things. You know, well, and I think the thing that's different here that I'm standing out with is that each one has a different, almost thematic feeling that's different with the way they're presented.
And that's probably what they're trying to do. That's probably their primary thing, is they're trying to have different themes that you can play this game in, because they probably realize that it works well for other things if you just add a couple rules here and there. Modiphius does a lot of that, to be honest.
So it's a very interesting and creative path they've taken, because we have, like, the core, which is more sci-fi apocalyptic. We have Ethereum, which is more like, I guess, horror kind of suspense, it seems like, from they describe it to you, because it's kind of a dark city, you know, where the souls of the dead don't stay there, you know. It's definitely got dark connotations like that. You have your, like, high seas mystic adventures with the seas, and then you have a more, I would call it more traditional fantasy or kingdom, probably, with evil druids and dark goddesses and stuff, and wildlands. I hate fun, sure. No, I don't hate fun. Grrr! I'm going to get you, your kids, and your funds. and kick out your things and whatever and get off my lawn. Anyway, I'm done with my old man stuff. Clipped. Anyway, so
yeah, but
I do feel like these are very. They want to have some of that core aspect of probably like I would call it tribal tension, which seemed to be an important theme in Fragged Empire, and all seems like there is a little bit of that in any of these, or the cultural tension and exploration. It seems a little bit like even if you break down like exploring the streets of Ethereum, it's you're exploring the streets, you know, or exploring the high seas, or exploring this wild lands now that the archdruid is dead. You know, it's exploration, cultural tension, and interesting settings that have maybe different themes to them. And that's an interesting direction to take Fragged Empire, from what I remember originally talking about this. That I
like how their original setting is called post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
That's all. Sorry, that's their yeah, because they do seem to focus in each one. Including the core one. They say the setting, what the setting is. This is like, you know.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting direction I did not see them taking. Is one of those things with it. This is like most of the time with a lot of their books, they add in a part of their worlds they're building that maybe add in a little bit of this different setting or different direction you can take. This is very different between all three of them. Or I'm sorry, all four of them. So these are three books that take the game in vastly different directions than I was even expecting.
And then you do what my friends do for World of Darkness and Chronicles of Darkness and mesh them all together in ways they weren't supposed to be, and see what kind of broken shenanigans you can create.
What kind of abomination you can create with that. Yay, abominations! Yeah.
Sorry, I shake my head because it's like, oh my gosh, the munchkinry that happens sometimes with some of my friends.
Yeah. No.
Let's just deal 30 dice of damage in World of Darkness.
It's just a bit much. Just a little much. But I think this is an interesting direction to take their Fragged Empire's line, and I am curious to see if we see more books, what directions they're going to take, what kind of interesting like themed settings they can come up with now. It kind of has me intrigued, I have to say. Much more than I probably would have been originally when it comes to Fragged Empire. Because Fragged Empire was kind of neat looking. But again, it was a sci-fi setting. It was like its own post-apocalyptic, where it's like, yeah, we got a lot of those technically, so...
Yeah.
It definitely is cool to see that they have made a interesting change. But they don't have a quick start guide for that, though, unfortunately. So
yeah, they do.
I don't see it under Fragged Empire stuff, so maybe they have it under a different product line. Under specific
Fragged Empire, well, fraggedempire.com. I ran into it when I was doing my Google searching.
Modiphius doesn't have it up on their site, though.
Yeah.
But you can find it. Okay, so you can find it there. Let's see. Maybe we should make a half horse after human, but they're smaller than a horse but larger than a human, and they don't have to wear pants. Well, I mean, if you don't want to tell us, if you want to try to tell a centaur type creature to wear pants, good luck to you. And also, make pants for them. I would suggest you go for those like covers that like knights would have for a horse, maybe like one of those things. And that would be your, like, centaur clothes.
Okay. Wait, hold on. I just saw something in the quick start rolls. I need to see if this is a thing.
Okay.
Fragged Seas. Where is... Okay, sorry, I'm trying to see... Basically, I'm curious, because I noticed when I looked at the Frag quick start rolls, I saw a galactic map. And one of the planets in the galactic map was a sea planet. One of them was a tundra planet. One of them was a jungle planet. I'm like, wait, did they just did they create actual settings for the different planets? Is that what they did?
Oh my god, that might be what they did. If Fragged Empires includes a galactic map to a degree, and they're focusing on this planet here, maybe that's what it is. The answer to centaurs is probably yes, just like a horse does. If you really, really care about it, ask them to get, like, the horse moo-moo thing.
That'll fit. Oh, that thing. Yeah, like the draped, like, you know, the knight banner kind of horse draping, yeah.
Yeah. I guess it would be easier to excuse for, like, female centaurs, because it looks more like a dress then. But you can make it all, like, kilt patterns, and then call it, like, you know, centaur kilt for the males. Then it's a man dress, because kilts are man dress. Fight me, Scottish people. Fight me. I'm not saying I'm against you wearing your man dresses. It's still a man dress. You can wear the man dress all you want. I accept this. It's a fine thing. They aren't terrible looking for when you guys are wearing them. You pull off the man dress. It's still a man dress.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I can't find anything specific in my attempt to research quickly, but yeah, it's possible that's what they did.
It sounds like something they could have done. So,
yeah.
All right. Why don't we kind of chugging along here, so why don't we move on to our final segments, unless there's anything else you want to add about this Fragged Empire adventures we've sort of been diving into?
Nope. Only that. I will probably look into that a little bit more.
There does seem to be levels of interest in this entire thing that I didn't even think about when you, like, kind of read and research it just a little bit when originally we did. Like, there's more to this now.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so why don't we move on to our regular segments. We have 3 regular segments that we like to do every week here at the show, just to give you a thing. First off is our Kickstarter Corner, where we go over each a Kickstarter of our choice that we think would be interesting, you might want to check out. What do you have for us this week, Wyrm?
So I found a one called, let me post the clip.
Link?
Yep. There it is. It's called Darwin's Choice. I found it kind of neat. It's kind of like a card. It's like it uses cards and tokens. Like there's no board beyond that. And you have to you draw basically random creature parts, and the creature parts have different attributes. And then you draw random setting cards, and you have to try and make your the cards in your hand. You have to build a creature that can survive in that environment. And then and then at the end of each era, there's an event. Yeah, and then you can and depending on if you've gotten enough of the, making you can at the end of each event, at the end of each era, like they're split up into eras, and is basically like a round, I guess. And you can do a certain number of things within each era. Then an event happens, and basically it'll change something about the board, and you have to see if your creature still survives. But at the same time, you also need to make sure your creature can get enough food, because different lands have different types of food. And you have to, if something about that changes, or if one of your players introduces another creature which takes over the food, because basically, I think food prioritizes based on kind of like what you build the creature as, because they have like a what do they call it? Like dominance or
habitat they prefer?
Competition. Like they're I think who has better competition? Something like that.
Who's better able to compete?
Yeah. And so like if they have a higher competition, the one who has the they might get the food, and the other one will die out, and you get points based on how many, if if your creature survives, and then moves on to the next era, and you can spend those points to alter your creature. But also you want to save the points for the end of the game, because the person who has the most points at the end wins. but you also want your creature to survive. Because if your creature dies, you lose all of the points currently on your creature, except for one. You get 1 point from it. So it's really bad to have your creature die, but you also need to spend your points to upgrade your creature and make it survive. It's a really neat looking game. It's very tactical. You can there's even an aspect of trading parts with your friends and stuff. So it's like you can try and go like, oh well, I have a head here, but I need a body, and you can trade like that.
Cool. There's definitely some interesting stuff to this one. It looks like a lot of their interesting stretch goals are like different groups of creatures.
Yeah,
that
they've already reached their goal, but now they're basically on their stretch goals. But I felt so.
The rhinoceros alligator crab sounds wonderful. Also delicious.
Yeah. So it's kind of it looks like a very amusing game. Definitely something to look into.
Yeah. Cool.
I also like the very first thing, kind of near the top, there's like a picture of what looks like a rabbit with a shrimp head holding a steak, and it's adorable.
That does sound wonderful. And adorable. And look, what Unfunny One suggested, 3 out of 4 of those sounds delicious, and I'm not going to tell you which ones they are, so it sounds like a delicious creature. Sounds like it would be delicious. I'm not sure which ones you know. It's up to you to determine which of those is I'm talking about, but I'll leave it to you. All right, for myself, which I will change the image over in a second for you guys to see, I thought to check out Awaken Blood of the Salvor. Let me just try to get an image here. They're up on Kickstarter, of course. They have not been funded yet. They're about halfway done funding, 14 days to go. Let me try to get this image up successfully. Maybe, possibly, no. We'll find out. No, it didn't work. Whatever. I tried to make it quick and efficient to get it like an image of this here. But there's a lounging lady here that's apparently the thing in the RPG here. Let's see if that works. Hey, look at that. Lounging lady here. Anyway, so it's this is the Awaken Core rulebook. This is something they put out, and this is a new book in the Slavic Mediterranean-inspired dark fantasy role-playing game series that they're trying to put up on Kickstarter. And dark fantasy is always one of those interesting ones that I think we see a little bit of, but it's always fun because they always take very interesting turns. So it is, using the Awaken original core rulebook, which I think I've seen the Awaken before. I might have seen that at PAX Unplugged, Awaken. I think I did. Now that I look at the book here, I knew it kept feeling familiar, but when I went to PAX Unplugged, I think I saw it there. And this is them trying to put out a new other kind of book on it. It'd be kind of a campaign book, I would call it. You had your core book before, which had all the rules and stuff. This is basically the high echelons of the Order, the alliances, all those kind of things. Putting them together in a book that's just estimated to be hardcover 216 pages. And that's without any kind of stretch goal expansions, because their stretch goals are, of course, adding stuff to the book. That's the usual kind of thing a lot of these things do, is like, hey, we get some much cooler pages. So they're looking for the to be funded first. And they do have some stretch goals. A list of them. So it'd be cool to see them funded. As I said, it looked like a very cool core book when I checked it out a little bit at PAX Unplugged. It's nice to see an interesting expansion that's based upon the actual setting itself. It's kind of cool. So I thought to say something about it. Alright, why don't we move on to our next ending segment, which of course, for those of you, is our Week in Tabletop. You know about it. Wyrm, what's your Week in Tabletop like?
Yes, so, let's see. We had Bastion Frontier. We had... what did we play on Sunday?
Betrayal at Baldur's Gate.
That one. I'll go into that one. That was fun. I lost. We lost both times, except for Tantus kind of won. That was kind of funny because it was an oversight where technically we should have won, but if he had realized what it was, he wouldn't have done it. So it's kind of
there was a lot of oversight on a lot of ends on that one, and that I think we were kind of at the end point in there where
yeah, and we're also like, go, yeah, you have the best chance of killing him. You should go kill him. And then we realized, oh, wait, if he gets to you first, you're dead. Because he got to him first and he died. And we're like, oh, right. So, yeah, that happened.
Well, the first game, there was another thing I forgot all about, which I might have been able to have us last a little longer. But I realized afterwards it was probably not worth it. I once per game could have ignored the damage on a roll. So I could have fought the Baylor successfully, or the Pit Fiend, or whatever it was, once and not been damaged. But I got super murdered on the one roll, and I was like, did I want another roll where I might get super murdered also? I mean, It just didn't feel worth it, because I kept getting screwed over and not finding a weapon. I just wanted to...
I know. We got that one... I think we got that haunt far too early.
We got hit by a lot of omens very quickly and not a lot of, other stuff that was helpful at all.
The second one was a little bit better. We actually had more time to prepare. It just was unfortunate that the person who got the haunt, who became the traitor, basically had an area completely guarded off. I knew from the beginning that that's where you placed it. It's just there's no way for us to get there.
And I was a might whore that could smite the crap out of everyone.
We weren't allowed. See, also with that haunt, we weren't allowed to explore new areas. Otherwise, we could have maybe found I don't know if there is one in that, but we could have found the equivalent of the elevator. Because if we, that would have basically had us win if we could explore and find an elevator.
I don't think there's an elevator specifically room, but I think one of the events or two of the events allow you to move around a little bit better, and I think those might have still been helpful.
Yeah, it's we would have had to get one of those to win, which is why I was going so hard for some of the other things. Because I'm because when you discovered one, you'd get the room, you'd replace the room, and you'd get the event of that room.
Yeah.
So I was just hoping that there was some way to get behind you.
No, unfortunately, it was just a sweet release of death that I was able to bring upon you.
Yep. Yeah, so I felt like you kind of sometimes that happens where it's just, you just get the upper hand. I swear that's every time in played Betrayal. It's like I'm always the one on the lower end of that. I hate it. I want to win that game once, maybe someday.
I've had a mixed bag on it. The thing about Baldur's Gate is I feel like every time I've played one where it's all of us versus the board, I've lost to it.
They're supposed to be the hardest, and I think you almost need to take extra time to be tactical. With it, because I think I do think that it might have almost been better to. Well, to be fair, if you actually got some of those rolls, we probably could have done it.
Oh yeah, if even two of those rolls and it started at 6 power instead of 8, that would have been feasible for other people to actually overcome it.
Yeah, and then the point where you got it down to 7 from 8, it would have been 5, and then it would have been anyone could have helped take it out.
Yeah, there would have actually been chances at that point in time, and I think that was the problem. Is
when the attempts and that failed for attempting to dispel the ritual.
Some of them had a pretty decent chance, but yet
I think two I think I would have had the best chance if I had a way of getting over there in time, but I didn't.
Yeah. You being over there would have been better. Even with all the ones of us that were there rolling, it still was we just rolled poorly.
Yeah, had I taken all my turn. Yeah, and also because failing it makes it progress faster, right?
No. There was something else that made us progress faster. The failing the illusion thing made us progress faster on that one when you were fighting against me.
Yeah, I remember that one, but which was dumb. It's I was garbage on 2 of them, despite the fact that I had I think 6 dice and had to get 3 successes or something.
Yeah,
it was like
you just rolled really garbage.
twice, and it's like, well, that screwed me.
Yeah, yeah. Anything else that you did then, or
Not for role-playing game-wise.
all right,
Or board game-wise.
board game wise, I had on the day before Frag, and what else did we do other than Frag? I think we did. I did a game of High Noon Saloon and Frag. High Noon Saloon, where it's it's one of the Western games. Like I think it's by the same people who did Bang. This one you're all drinking in a bar, doing a bar fight. It's basically a bunch of people bar fighting in a bar. Joe and I killed each other, so it left the last player in the game to win because we took out each other at the same time. Because I was damaging him, but he's free to make counterattack as he damages me. So I was killing him off, and I was at like 1. So when I killed him off, so he just counterattacked me, and there was no way to absorb the damage. As for Frag, Blaze won because he killed someone. We all got like 1 kill. And then Blaze, which Frag, if you don't know about it, is basically first-person shooter, the board game. It's an interesting one. And then...
Not to be confused with Fragged Empire.
Yes, not to be confused with Fragged Empire. Blaze had gotten a card that allowed him to teleport at any time. So he basically killed someone a second time, and then used that to teleport next to Joe, who had just respawned and was very weak that way. And then just took him out also. So it was just like a 1-2 punch at the end there he was able to very quickly and easily do because of the situation that things were set up in. Granted, if 2 of us came together and started fighting, he was also planning to teleport in the middle of us to take us both out because he could get 2 attacks in 1 turn with his build. But anyway, and of course Bastion Frontier, where we had adventures in town, is the best way to describe it. Like all session. We met the nice lady whose name I have written down somewhere, but I don't remember off the top of my head. Who I just remember. I remember as being the naked lady, and Levere, and we had a nice Ulvir. I'm sorry, Ulvir. We had a very good conversation that was very important to some storyline and story building, which was great. Then Tiv nowhere showed up with a blade, which was, I guess I would call it cursed, but technically it's intelligent and tries to take over people to do, like, you know, challenge people to deadly duels. And I went off on a murdery spree, though I didn't get to murder anybody, because they managed to get me unconscious then.
No, they didn't get you unconscious. Tiv just rolled,
Oh, he disarmed me.
Tiv just got you to drop, yeah, he disarmed you.
Yeah, he just disarmed me, that's right. Because he got the blade to, like, to kind of disconnect from me temporarily. That's right. And then we did some more role-playing back in the tavern, which involves, yes, normal kind of thing. Which, as usual, the expanding backstory and religion of tools are always entertaining. As I add more details to my religion and my backstory. I just figured at this point in time, I'm just going to keep adding things to it, and I just don't know where it's going to end, and I'm just going to finish in this, like, weird history of storyline of, like, because I think I'm like old enough that I figured I could get like years worth of interesting experiences in here. Tools has had a weird life. The stories I can tell that I always bring up at the weird times. Anyway, so it was a fun week. And I think that's all that we did on the tabletop front. So, let's go to our final segment, which, for those of you who are new here or unfamiliar, our final segment, of course, is ask or consult the table, where you guys out there ask us any questions about anything tabletop related, non-tabletop related, just nerdy, you know, online, YouTube-y, anything you could think of that's an interesting question that you might have that you think that we might be able to answer for you, you can ask. If we can't answer for it, we're just going to be like, whatever, we can't help you, sorry. Apologies. But if we can help you with it, we will. And
try and keep it vaguely related to something that we may do.
Yes. I mean, it's good to question about this, but, like, if you want to be like, what do you think about this movie that just came out? I can say, like, I might have, if we saw that movie, we can tell you. If we didn't, we can't help you. You know?
That's fair.
Uh-huh. Or, like, a TV series or something like that. But, like, you know, if it's about role-playing tabletop, and or YouTube or Twitch. We're probably a lot better suited for those things. But anyway. We'll give chat a couple of seconds. It doesn't look like anybody emailed us at discussingtabletop@yahoo.com, which if you wanted to email us there in between shows, that's a great place to reach us. You can also message Wyrm, Joe, or I on Twitter. Send a message to either me or Wyrm on our Discords. Be here if you want to. Leave it in the comments of when I put this show up on YouTube. A lot of ways that you can reach us. So, very cool. All right, I think that's it for today then. We've run a little bit of time. Joe's not here. He probably would say something about, he supports my channel and stuff like that. Wyrm, how about you? What are you gonna I was gonna say what Joe says, the pimping out, but it's probably not the most appropriate. What do you want to support from yourself or other things today?
Yes, I am. I'm Diamond Wyrm. You can find me on twitch.tv/DiamondWyrm, or at DiamondWyrm on Twitter. I run Bastion Frontier on Wednesdays. I do Stallers Versus with Tantus on Mondays, and I will be starting on Sunday evenings in a couple of weeks a Curse of Strahd campaign. With Tiv, Unfunny One, Mads, and likely Skoink. Skoink is like 80% sure, she just has to check on some things. But yeah, you can also find me on at DiamondWyrm on Twitter. I have a Patreon, I have a Discord. Come join the fun.
Cool. Of course, I'm Tantus Dracovin. You'll be able to find me tomorrow morning here for Subnautica Minimalist Run, which I'm about done with it. I'm probably one more session. I'm going to finish that one up and replace it with something when coming on Wednesday, unless I want to do something else Stellaris or some sort of Subnautica related. Who knows? I'll be here Monday with Diamond Wyrm for our Stellaris First series, which we just started a new game of it because I lost horribly on the Xenophobe versus Xenophile. I surrendered to him. There wasn't really much coming back from what happened to me.
We're having to start a new one. To be fair, you were kind of screwed over from the beginning because you were a xenophobe and you started with the most empires near you.
Yeah, if we had switched locations, it probably would have still worked much better for you. You probably would have made friends with all those guys, might have been able to form a federation, and I would have.
But you would have had the ability to grow and get more planets, which would have given you a better chance.
It would have been I think it would have been more balanced. I don't know, because I would have still maybe like hit those guys to the north, and then I would have that were above you, and I don't know how far down I would have gone then if I had been in the position where you were at. That's an interesting thought pattern.
Yeah.
I think you could have made the area where I started at work a lot better than I made it work.
Yeah, but you probably could have made the area I started work a lot better as well. As long as you took the time to expand to those wormholes, because that's where I almost got screwed over. Because the guy went through the wormhole, and I'm just like, hey, wanna be friends?
As for other things, you can check out my YouTube side. I've started getting back into my scripted content, so you can check that out there, along with some of the VODs of various things that come up here, especially the show. Sundays at the Tabletop will be tomorrow evening. I just have to confirm the games, like the small list of games I'm doing. I haven't figured out. Depending on our players, depends on what we do. And for RPG size, you can of course check me out on Bastion Frontier on Wednesdays with Wyrm, and I will be starting up a few in the future. I've got a couple in the works. Let's see which ones pop out first. Probably for me, there might be one like Thursdays that I would run before I would do Stellaris multiplayer with Tiv and Wyrm, if we're still doing that or something, and then maybe one on Friday. It's kind of where I'm working at. I don't know. Schedule's up in the air for me a little bit. So evening schedules, we'll work on them. Anyway, so I guess we'll both see you here next week. Hopefully Joe will be able to join us this week, or next week. And if you want to see me personally, you can see me tomorrow morning, and probably the both of us will be here for Sundays at the Tabletop. Usually Wyrm's here for that, so, so anyway, thank you for joining us. we'll see you all here another time. So goodbye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.